it's Margaret here from Well Coach, and today I'm bringing you another volume, I guess, of real talk. One of the things that I get often asked is, what is one of the best parts of being a Scrum Master for me? And that always opens up a whole heap of conversation for me, but when I kind of dig into it, it's probably going to be something that you don't expect. So let's get into it now. Just something I do want to mention, all the data that I show in this video today is from a real team that I have worked with in the past. None of their information is on here, and the sprints that I show aren't their actual sprints that they were in at the time. It was just the period of time that I was actually with them. So let's get into it. Okay, so what's one of the best parts of being a Scrum Master for me? Well, it's not the daily stand-ups and it's not the retrospectives. It's actually all about the metrics for me. And the reason it's about the metrics for me is because that is where the magic tends to happen. When you dig into the data, when you dig into the details, that's when you can actually really find out where your experiments can come from. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you some of the charts that I use when I'm working with a new team, and what I find really valuable to kind of dig into some of those problems they might be having, like just to find out what's actually going wrong at the get-go. Sometimes it's that observation that's really most important to us as Scrum Masters, and data really helps us with that. So hopefully there's something in here that if you're a Scrum Master, you might be able to use if you're just new on your journey. So let me show you some of the charts that I use. Just another thing, if these charts, if they're new to you or if you'd like more information, please reach out to me. I'm always happy to share more about it. But let's go. Okay, so the very first chart that I would be looking at when I'm working with a team is throughput. And by that I mean I want to see how many cards they actually get through every sprint. How many things are they able to get completed every sprint? And sometimes, teams will over promise things. They'll bring too much into the sprint and they'll say, yes, we'll get all of this done, and ultimately they only get a third of it done. But that's really hard to try and do metrics on. And so when you're looking at throughput, it's much more relevant than a burn down chart as far as I'm concerned. It really helps you to be able to get a really good picture. And for me, I started with this team. It was my sprint one with this team, and I measured their throughput for the first sort of 3 sprints. We started doing a few little changes to processes, I guess you could probably say. Sorry, I had to think about what it was that I was trying to tell you just then. We ran a few experiments, we tried a few things, and what this chart tells you is that for the 8 sprints that I was with this team, from sprint 1 to sprint 2, we saw a gradual increase in their throughput. From sprint 2 to sprint 3, we saw a gradual increase in their throughput, and so on and so forth. And that was what I wanted to see. So this chart showed me that the small changes we were making actually helped them get through more cards as they went on. But this is just one card, right? This is just one chart. This is just one part of the metrics that I use to help a team when we're looking at flow. The next thing that I look at is, technical difficulties there. New tools. Please bear with me. Okay, the next thing that we look at is cycle time. So we want to make sure the cycle time has been halved. So for this team here, it has been. So I guess if you look at it this way, if your throughput is really low, your cycle time is probably going to be really high. And by cycle time, what we're referring to is the time it takes from when a team actually says, yes, we're picking this card up, and start working on it, to when it gets delivered. Now, if it gets blocked during that process, that flow time, or if anything happens, like lots of bugs in production, system downtime, anything like that, that all eats into cycle time, and that all makes it exponentially blow out. So all the processes that you start to put in place, all the little experiments that you start to run with, should help to have that cycle time come down. The next chart that I really like working with is blockers. So I kind of mentioned them before with cycle time, right? If you've got lots of blockers, your cycle time is going to skyrocket. Because blockers are the things that stop cards from actually getting from point A to point B, right? From getting from start to finish. Now, this team had a huge amount of blockers when I started working with them, and it was things like they had to share a test resource. They didn't have their own test resource, so they had to share one with another team. They didn't have a very good CI/CD pipeline, so they couldn't continuously improve and continuously deploy their work. It was very manual and very stop-start all along the way. So we put a lot of work in to try and get some of those fundamental good processes in place, and started to try and get a lot of those blockers removed. Now, by the time I got to the end, they still did have blockers, and they still did have cards that were getting blocked. But a lot of those were actually down to waiting for things outside of their own sphere of influence. So it was either they were waiting on legal to do something, or they needed to hear some feedback from their product owner. It was all things that were out of their sphere of influence. But that was a really nice win, and it just helps the team to feel a bit less stuck. Like, it gives them back some power and some autonomy, which I really love. Okay, the next thing that I look at is how many bugs there are in production. And you kind of get a really good feel for the quality of the code if the bugs in production is low. Now, the team that I was working with at the time, their bugs in production were super high. Like, if you look at that, in that first sprint, 7 bugs were reported after a release in production. That's live code. That is code that's a product that a customer is actually using. And when there's a whole bunch of bugs, and they were things like the software won't load, or the wizard keeps crashing, or I can't open this report, or my data just doesn't show, it shows all funny looking. Those are things that should be caught during the actual sprint when it's being tested. So quality was a real big problem. And because they were struggling to try and get flow, you know, if you think back to the amount of cards that they had blocked, the percentage of the cards that were blocked during the sprint, if you think back to what their cycle time was and what their throughput was, you can kind of understand why. Technical difficulties. You can kind of understand why so many bugs in production. It was really interesting when we started experimenting. We started to change up their processes. We started to put some really good controls in place within the team, and that's team controls in place, right? And we're talking WIP limits, we're talking pair programming, we're talking automated tests, things like that, things that can catch that stuff early on. Once we started to get all of that in place, it actually meant we had less bugs in production, which was awesome. Okay, the next thing that I like about this is that when you start to get your throughput up, when you start to get your cycle time down, when you have less cards blocked, when you have less cards blocked, when you have less bugs in production, then you get more value delivered. Throughput equals value delivered. And that was the real goal here. Now, if you can see the spelling mistake that I have on this slide, please comment down below and let me know. That was a really rookie mistake. I'm very, very sorry. This is a little bit of a higgledy-piggledy real talk moment for you guys. It happens, right? So please bear with me. Again, I'm just on a journey right now. I am experimenting with things, so this is what it's like. But back to metrics. Okay, so the lesson that I had with this team, so we went through from sprint 1 to sprint 8, we put a lot of good processes in place. I used metrics to help them all of the way. One of the things that I was really clear about with them right at the start is that these metrics are a mirror for them. They weren't a stick. I never wanted them to be used against them in any negative way. That's not what metrics are for. And as a Scrum Master, you should only use metrics to help empower your team, not to punish them by any means. If things are going bad, if throughput is going down, if your cycle times are getting exponentially big, look at your data. Ask the question, what blockers do we have? What are our processes like? What do we need to tweak? Do we have flow right now? If you are answering, yes, we have a huge amount of blockers, well then start looking there. If you don't have flow, if you're constantly getting stopped, look at your wastes. Look at 7 wastes of software development, or just look at what's happening during the day. How many interruptions are they getting? Is your team getting? If you're not getting through lots of cards, what's the reason? Are they too big? Are you breaking them down enough? There's always a really good reason for all of those numbers blowing out. And for me, the most important thing is that they're there to help us empower our team, like I said before. So they show us if experiments are actually working. And if they're not, then as Scrum Masters, we have to learn, we have to grow with the team, and we have to try something new. That's just the way it is. So that for me is one of the best parts of being a Scrum Master. So here is your turn. I want to know what the best part, or one of the best parts of your role or your job in your company is. Comment down below. Let me know what it is. I'd be really keen to hear. Everybody works in a different industry, I'm sure. So tell me what the best thing is about your role. Even if it's super quirky. Even if it's something like, I'm a mum. The best part about my role is making food for my family. I want to know that. I'd love to know that. I'm a mum. I love making food for my family as well. Anyway, let me know that. If you've got to the end of this video and you haven't lost your mind with all of my quirkiness and my trying new things, and believe me, I'm experimenting. At some point, I'm going to have to show you guys a video of my setup and what I'm doing. It's pretty crazy at the moment. You're going to see things changing so much with my videos. But if you've made it all the way, please like and subscribe. Please help me out on that side of things. If you found value in anything that I've showed you today, please share it with others. I'm here to inspire people. I'm here to kind of show you what has worked for me. It doesn't work for everybody. Not everything works for everybody. You'll find the thing that works for you. I don't have magic silver bullets. I'm just speaking from a huge amount of experience. So I really hope that this resonates with you. And if you found something really interesting today, that's awesome. Other than that, I will see you next time. Thanks for sticking around. I'm Margaret from Well Coach.